bandsaw then, it's probably one of the simpler machines in here to operate. And in the way that it functions, it's not like the pillar drill where it's a rotatory device that's going to throw stuff at us. In that sense, it sort of tends to feel quite safe, but you have a lot of exposed danger with the bandsaw. Now this blade, when we turn the motor on, will be running downhill like that. If we end up putting the work up here, where is the work going to go? Straight down like that. Okay, so the first thing that we do is always operate with your work on the machine bed. Okay, you cannot on this machine safely cut what's called circular stock, right? Because at the top here, when the blade is touching it, it's not actually touching the floor, so it will whip it and spin it for you. Okay, and you don't have control, so we don't cut circular stock on bandsaw. But what we're doing is not circular stock, so we can use the machine. You have an exposed blade. That's quite risky. We minimise that risk in several ways. First of all, you do not operate ever with your hands in line with the blade. All right? You could slip, you could sneeze, could be an earthquake, and we're going in. Okay, in fact, we push towards it. So no matter how far away you are, you don't operate with your fingers opposite the line of the blade. And then occasionally, these are welded together, and occasionally these can break. When they break outwards like that. And so whilst we could argue we're perfectly safe here, because we're either side of the blade, doesn't matter what happens, if the blade slips, snaps out, or even sometimes steers outwards slightly, we definitely don't want to be too close, and there is such a thing as too close. On these machines, we've put a guidance for you with our yellow and black tape. That guidance is as big as, you probably can't see it well, but there's a plate in here that swallows the blade. It's called the throat plate because it swallows the blade. And if your hands are on that, they are too close. Okay? There will be instances where you're trying to cut off a small amount of wood, and your hand is there if you're holding it. Can you do that?
No.
No, you cannot bend any of these rules. They're black and white. Bend the rules, you're going to get hurt, okay? So if you're wanting two hands on your work, why not just have them both this side? That's fine, isn't it? The only thing, if you do that, is that you don't reach across the blade, because all of a sudden, I'm in line with the blade again, okay? So you move your body. Right, we've got a guide rail here, and this can come off. So it has a lock. When it's down, it's locked. That will help run things straight. All right, if you want it out of the way, because you want to cut something over here, you can unlock it. It will slide nearer and farther away, but it will actually slide all the way off. My one's kept over here in that rack. Okay, so we could operate here. Am I safe like that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not safe like that?
No.
Not safe like that?
No.
No, in line with the blade. So it's relatively simple, but that's deceptive. Okay, don't get caught by being complacent. The other thing we can do though is we generally don't leave any more blade exposed than is the depth of the wood that we're cutting. So what we've got is a wheel here to roll the blade up and down. We can actually lock this. It will stay in place without it being locked, but I like to lock it off at the back there. So if you come along and you're going, oh, it won't turn up, well, it's probably locked. Just reach around and unlock it. Now you need to make sure that you haven't got this part so low, because you're trying to get rid of all the exposed blade. You haven't got this part under here so low that it's stopping your work from moving. So the first thing that you do to set up is you work with your work down on the machine bed, and then you set the blade guard down as low as possible, and then you check, can my work move freely? Because if you've dropped it that close, it can't move freely. As soon as it's not moving freely, you're going to push. As soon as you're going to push, you're off balance and not in control. So we need to have it as low as we can and still have the work slide in easily like that. Okay, we should have on the floor an operator box. At the moment it's going to be imaginary. Okay, so you know 1 metre away from each other, all right? And will be a scenario where more than one of you kind of queuing up. I would much rather some of you went and got a tenant or did another job than that the entire class was queued up. But if you are queuing, you're still 1 metre away. If you're operating, get everyone at arm's length. You don't know what they're going to do. Okay, you might have an allergic reaction to something and knock into you. Okay, you need that space around you, all of you. Anyway, we come to our body, so as ever, aprons on would be nice, but certainly loose hair tied up. And if it is mufti day and you've got these tags on your hoodies, get them out of the way. We don't want anything going down in that machine. What else do I need? I've got them nearly ready.
PPE.
PPE, personal protective equipment. There's not an urgent call for goggles. If you're never sure, for earmuffs, if you're not sure what PPE you need, it is written up on the bandsaw, and so is everything I'm telling you now. Right, it is there, written down for you, number 1 through to 7. Pre-operational checks I just ran through with you. Goggles, always on this machine. And then number 1 through to 7, operational, and it'll say things like do not force round stock through. Okay, so those are about how you operate. But we're set up now. Can you just switch the power switch for me by the door? I think it'll be the one by the door that we need. Right, so it's green for on, red for off. That's the button that I'm going to hit if I need it to stop. When you turn it on, you do need to let the blade get up to speed. So you'll hear that when it's running up to speed before you start your car. There. The motor's not running. Is the blade still moving? Will the blade still cut? Yes, it will. So there is a lag between when you turn it on and when it's up to speed, and when you turn it off and when it's stopped. Okay, so when you turn it off, please make sure it's off and wait for it to stop, rather than just hope you've pressed it and walk away from the machine while it's still running. It doesn't take long, but it's important. And it's literally as simple as pushing through at the speed that it wants to take it. It ought to feel kind of, it's not exactly like butter, but it shouldn't be hard work. If it's hard work, there's something wrong with either the machine or the blade's a little bit blunt, or the stock is hardwood that we've picked up the wrong wood, because we're generally working with Happy? Okay, now get steam to stop that.